Becky Torres, welcome to the Entrepreneur Next Door. It's great to have you. We're gonna start the way I always do. Please introduce yourself, but don't tell any secrets because I have other questions.
My name is Rebecca Lynn Torres. I am a personal trainer and a functional medicine health coach.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll dive into that in a second, but I'm gonna start the way I always do.
Great.
I run into you when you're 16 years old, and I say, Rebecca, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was the answer?
So you said it's when I'm 16.
16, yeah, I ran into you when you were 16.
I probably would have told you I wanted to be an astronaut or something crazy.
Okay. And so how did that work out?
So my thing was, I always thought it was a very difficult answer my whole life. That was a tough one. I never knew, and I think that depending on the week that you asked me, I would change what I wanted to do. And that went all the way into my adulthood until I finally focused on what I truly loved doing. And then that kind of made everything a lot easier. So searching for so many jobs my whole life, I did like the banking thing, I did the real estate thing, and it always came back to, do you love what you do? And the answer was no. So then I had to ask myself, what would I love to do? And the answer was simple. It was play sports for a living. So I was like, okay, even though I wasn't a pro at anything, and I wasn't going to be a professional soccer player or dance at Juilliard, I was like, I could find something doing what I love doing. And that's like playing sports, working with athletes, being in the health and fitness industry. So that's where I went.
Well, you went to college and studied criminal justice, right?
I did. Yep.
So what made you pick that major?
So great question. So I didn't know what I was going to school for at that point, right? Because every other week I had a different thing that I wanted to be. So I played it safe and I was a psychology major. Figured I could be a little bit more flexible with that in my future. And then I love everything criminal justice. I love murder podcasts. I love the cops shows. I figured, I don't know, maybe there's some interest there as well. I do. I have a passion for learning about criminal justice and the law. But the more I learned about it, the more I realized I didn't want a career in it. So I don't think it was a bad decision to go to college to get some education in that department, but it was not leading me to what I felt like in my soul was the right thing to do for myself.
And you're pretty unique, in many respects because I don't know what the real numbers are. I'm just gonna make it up, right? 75% of the population were exactly in the same spot as you were. Kids go to college, they don't really know what they want to major in. They just go, and then 2 years in, oh my God, I got to declare a major, and then you pick something, um, and then you get a job doing it, and then you just fall into that trap of you're in this, you get sucked into what everybody expects you to do, and there's enough people out there who are doing that and are miserable, right?
Right.
You were able to not compromise, test it out, try different things, maybe to make your parents happy, I don't know, and you broke free. So you said sports. What was soccer your like your number one thing?
Yeah, so soccer and dance were my number one thing. Whole life I was a major athlete, three-sport athlete in high school. Went on to play Division I soccer and dance, semi-professionally in college. And that was it. Like the second that there was a thought that I was going to go to school and not do these things, like my schedule from Monday to Sunday for as long as I can remember was filled with an activity or a sport. And my father and I were going to the soccer field, from the soccer field, putting on the pink tights to ballet class and going back and forth from all of those things. So the thought of giving that up and not having that drive that fed my blood, that fed my soul was like devastating to me. I was like, how am I going to live like this adult life without doing these things that make me so happy? So that was interesting when you said that. Like you got out of that rut of choosing something, whether you're chasing the dollar or chasing a successful career. For me, I was chasing happiness. And, I had one of my bosses that in real estate, still a very good friend of mine. He said that, like, my dad always said, you pick something, if you like to do and you'll never feel like you work a day in your life. And I'm like, yeah, but what is that? Like, what is that thing? And then it was literally as simple as, what do I love to do every day? And that's play sports. So how do I turn that into something that I can make into a
Yeah.
career, and having a little bit more having just education and experience on the soccer field, education and experience being a dancer, I already had something that other people didn't have. You know, I could already go and teach somebody how to play soccer. I already had skill. So I already had something that other people didn't have. And then I took that and then learned even more to go along with that. You know, once I decided to go the personal trainer route, I was like, I want to get every certification. I want to get every license. I want to learn as much as I can. And then all that did was show me that there's so much that I don't know and I'm never going to know everything. I think that that was like, you know, kind of shooting all over the place here with you, but I think that that was definitely a big learning experience in my career was that. That alone, I think helps me set myself a little bit more apart from other personal trainers. Was just that knowing that I didn't know and putting education first and just always having that open mind where the information changes daily in the field that I'm in. And the more I read and the more people I put myself in front of, the more people with different experiences, the more that I learn. So, I mean, that's where I'm at now is just being in this field and just like trying to learn and absorb as much as I can.
So this is a show about entrepreneurship, and you're in business for yourself as a fitness trainer. And the other thing you mentioned, which I have no idea what it is, but you'll explain to me later. But what you the guy that you worked with in real estate that said to you, chase happiness, which is a great title for your next book, um, was actually really smart because you know the number one thing that people experience when they get to a nursing home. So people in nursing homes, there's one thing they experience that's absolutely frightening when you know that you're going to get there, but you can actually prevent yourself, and that's regret. And you know, in a nursing home, you're not it's a one-way ticket, right? There is no there's no coming back. You're there, and then it's off to whatever, and you have plenty of time on your hands. And you look around, and I experienced this with my parents in a nursing home. Put him into assisted living; they were pretty vibrant, and then you see how they slowly just deteriorate. And they didn't get there this way, but it does something to you. And because you have so much time on your hands, you sit there and you start to wonder, and you wonder, what I regret that I could have, should have done when I was younger. And just think about that. That's like an absolutely gut wrenching, awful feeling. Instead of looking back and saying, wow, I'm so proud of what I've accomplished, my friends, my family. I made a difference, right? Instead, you sit there and you start, and it's torture, right? It's torture in the worst time.
Yeah.
You, by your behavior and some influence, are on a track to hopefully avoid it. I mean, we're all going to have something that we regret, but we're not talking about the major life decisions, right?
Right.
So the one thing that you said, because I was a soccer guy back in Israel and I played in college, soccer and dance don't quite go together for me. Like
You
we're
think
on the
that.
field
You think that.
and
You
you're
know what?
look, except the graciousness, if you're a right wing and you speed down, do your moves around everybody, yes, but it's a
Here's
tough
the
sport.
position
It
I
is
played.
you
That's
either
what position
striker
I
or
played.
right.
I was the right
I have
wing.
no idea. There you go. See, because my younger daughter is so fast. She is so fast. When she ran the ball on the right as a right winger, people always used to say, "Oh my God, look at her! She's floating on the grass." She wasn't terribly skilled, but she was super fast. So, but soccer it's a physical game, right? And then you go from there to the graciousness of dance.
Is right.
But
To me, it's the best combination for me. I get the brutality of the soccer with the competitiveness and the contact sport and all the aggression, the blood, sweat, and tears, and the camaraderie of the team, and all of that. And then with dance, I get the creative, the artistic, the movement, the connecting to my body, the listening to music. So it's like, yeah, I guess it all stems from the same place, but very different feels for me as far as like where I zone out and how I find my flow. So
yeah,
just things
I
that I
mean,
realized, like you said, in an early age, like made my body feel so good, made my brain feel so good.
it's a different mindset when you go into in character mode to become a dancer. It's completely different, right? I
Totally
mean,
different.
I mean, forget about me. I mean, I'll trip on the floor and trying to make a move, but watching people who dance, was that modern dance or was that something else?
So I still dance, I still perform. And right now I'm currently only doing tap. I'm an advanced tap dancer and hip hop class, just because it's fun.
Okay.
But yeah, I've done everything from modern to African to Russian ballet to American ballet to lyrical. I studied it all. And I can't say that I like one better than the other. It's pretty much all that I have time for right now is two classes. But you're 100% right that two different, activities driving from two different force fields. What do they all have in, like, is there anything in common? And I do really think it's just that, like, that flow state. Anything can bring you there. But wherever activity that you do where you can kind of like step outside of your body and not think of anything else, and that
Yeah.
your whole brain is focused on that sport is extremely meditative. It's so good for you. It's so calming, very connecting. So I think that's what I would say that they have in common, if I could say anything.
Yeah, and you're right. In soccer, beyond the excitement and I don't think it's brutal. I've never never broke anything. I was actually a goalie, but never really witnessed anything physically abusive. But it's a contact sport. But there's something that happens even to this day when you step on the grass, right? Going into either practice or especially a game, right? When you step on that grass, your mindset completely changes, which
Yep,
probably the same thing applies to you when you go on the whatever hardwood floor and you're going to go do your
100%.
dance
Yeah.
routine, right?
Yep.
So, was there a point where you actually had to choose, or you decided I'm chasing happy. I'm going to do the things I love to do. As long as I could do all of them, I'm okay.
You mean choose what? Choose between having to like choose a career and not doing any of these fun things? Is that what you mean?
Oh, choose fitness or choose dance, choose some. I mean, because if you really want to get, again, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and you're a solopreneur, if and you said it yourself, if you want to get really good, and the one way you differentiate yourself, because the universe is filled with people like me, business coaches, fitness trainers, right? The ones that make it are the ones that are smart enough to differentiate themselves. One way to do it is you get really, really good in what you do, right?
Yeah, so that's a good
And
question.
right.
So
And
yeah, so with the
so,
sports, it never, yeah, but the soccer thing definitely took over. I became a soccer trainer actually for a very long time, and it was amazing. Right after college. So that's how it started. I immediately became like, once I figured out that none of these careers were what I wanted to do, the real estate, the finance, and I was like, I have to do this. I have to try to figure it out. And I thought personal training was it. I became a soccer coach right away because I knew right then and there, before getting skills and getting certified and getting a license and becoming, you know, getting very knowledgeable with anatomy and the microbiome and all these things that I could talk about now pretty fluently. I didn't know any of that. So I was like, I know soccer. So let's start there. I could teach anybody a lot about soccer, right? Certified
mhm.
referee, the whole thing. I was like, okay. So I started there, started in soccer, and then use that, use my connections there, use my connections to the community, gave back, volunteered, coached, you name it. I used that skill and that network of people to then go into my personal training business and start to build. And what it started with young athletes, I started coaching really young girls, 8 years old. And then I had their sister team that I was coaching 15-year-olds. Then they went to high school, and the high school called me and asked me to teach coach at the high school. So I had soccer definitely led me into this field of, becoming more of a one-on-one personal trainer and helping people
Mhm.
with more specific needs and issues, and then had the time to build and grow, from there.
Did you play soccer, club soccer before college?
Yeah.
In
I was on coach
who?
for Harbor.
Okay, got it. Okay, so when was the point where kind of soccer ends and fitness begins in terms of your primary focus?
It was, for me, it was a financial thing. I noticed that I could charge way more money and be way more effective with my time if I was working one on one. And I can, really change that person's life, be specific, write a program for them. And that's how it started. So it was really like, how am I going to make this into a lucrative career for myself? The soccer was amazing. I did it for over 10 years. but it was a lot of work and a lot of time and not a lot of money. And I was charging more than anyone else, and I had like already had the business background and the business sense to do that. And it still was, you have to travel with a team. So you have to think about that, right? It's not just work with the client for an hour, charge my fee, leave, go on to the next one. It's one game can be 7 hours long by the time we get the bus, get the girls together, get onto the field, get them out there, get them back, get them home. It was becoming, it was supposed to be a part-time job, and it was that. So that was really a decision I had to make for myself, that I wanted to be in this and pay my bills and, had a house one day. I was going to have to figure out how to make it into more of a like a period business. And that was it. That was the answer.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you didn't go to school as a business major, but intuitively you're making all the right decisions, right? You do a quick economics of your time versus pay, right?
Yeah.
The other piece is the soccer piece is exciting, but it's also unforgiving. So if the team is on a good run, everybody loves you. And I was a soccer coach for 12 years with my kids,
So you
and we
understand. Yep.
and again, this is kids, but intramural and travel soccer, but um, and we won the Long Island Cup. We were runner-up State Cup. We went out of state and won tournament. We were great, but as long as the team was winning, the coach is great. Like same thing worked, I think worked for you. If the team's doing well, everything's fine. The minute the team does start to fall apart and the things that happen, everybody looks to blame someone. And the part about working with teams is, yeah, well, maybe we need a new trainer. Maybe
Yeah.
they got used to her. Maybe they got used to her too much and she's not
Right.
effective, right? These are all things that happen all the time.
Yep.
You're right. And oh, by the way, you're also getting older, and sometimes the kids want somebody younger,
Yep.
right? That's what happens.
Yep.
So, but the other piece is that you sort of hinting at, but I think ultimately what attracted you to fitness is, really the ability to make a difference and impact a person. It's not a team thing. It's one on one. And if you coach them and it's life changing, then you can really feel great about what you do. You're making a difference in people's lives.
It's 100% it. And then that was it. And that's how it took off, because that started happening. Like personal trainers can be the career itself. It gets laughed at sometimes. We're a dime a dozen. There's a million of us. You see the kid in sweatpants that barely comb his hair to get to work on time, late for his client. So it's like anything else. Like lawyers have a bad name, personal trainers have a bad name, doctors get a bad name. So I can't say that it was hard to set myself apart. Right? I'm never going to come in late. I'm never going to come in looking like I'm not ready to work. So right then and there, I'm already elevated myself. And then it's the work ethic. I was willing to work hard, get up early in the morning, work late hours, work ridiculous hours, charge money that's out of control, not what I'm worth yet, like meaning not charge a lot because I'm not ready
Yeah.
yet. All of those things. And I was willing to put myself through that because I worked the other jobs that didn't mean anything to me. So like me working double the hours did not matter to me at that point. Working with a job that meant nothing to me was soul sucking. So this really just drove me. This gave me energy
Mm.
to get out of bed early. But before, where I was like, I just want any job that'll let me sleep in until 8 o'clock. Like I don't want to be work at the office till 9, and then I'll be good. When you do something you love and you get to decide how early you want to wake up, I was springing out of bed at 4:30 in the morning and still do. Now I can't wait to get up in the morning. Not for anybody else. It's for myself. It's for my client. And it's a whole different mindset. Then everything shifted into being happier, more balanced, less stress, work for myself, don't have anybody to answer to. And all that stuff worked out. The hard work, the work ethic, all of it.
So, like you said, I mean, you shake your stick in any direction. We're in Long Island, right? Doesn't matter. We're gonna hit a fitness trainer or a business coach like me. And I think that sometimes people ask me, what's the biggest lesson you learned 12 years into coaching, business coaching? And without a doubt, without hesitation, the answer is always the same. How to pick the right client. Because in the beginning, we all start the same way, right? I mean, We don't have any references. We don't have any clients. Find somebody, and then they ask you how long you've been doing it, how big is your company, can I have some references, and you have nothing. Then you said, okay, so what do you do? So what we do, we work for free in the beginning until we get some references, and then we get a client, and then we say, well, would you pay me this? Sure. And then you get some confidence, and then you say, well, would you pay me this plus more? And then you get to a point where you say, no, I'm not working for less. This is my fee. That's what you're going to have to pay if you want to get value from me. So in the universe of fitness trainers, and I know I know quite a few, I would have to say that most of them are probably, I'm not going to say they're starving, but they're really struggling because it's almost a commodity, right? You go to the gym, and that's not good, but you go to gyms and there's fitness trainers, and you can see the difference, right? There's a fitness trainer that's going to sit at the desk and look on his Facebook, or her, and then there's a hungry one, someone like Rebecca, who's going to actually walk around and see how somebody is using a piece of equipment and say, let me show you how to do this correctly. And, oh, what are you working on? Let me show you some other things. And then before you know it, they say, no, I really like your style. Do you offer personal training? And the answer is yes, right? So what is it? I'm going to ask you a really dumb question because fitness is such a generic term. When people come to you, what do they want?
That's a deep question. I guess the simple answer is people are just they're ready in their life to make a change, right? So when people are ready to make a change, that's when I see them. And there's like different levels of behavior change. And people are usually at the preliminary step where they're like, they already recognize that they have a problem. They already recognize that they're having a hard time doing it on their own. So they're ready to bring somebody else in to help them make that decision. So whether they're in the gym already and I'm picking them up on the gym floor, or they got my name from somebody, people are usually approaching me. I'm not at that point in my career anymore where I have to go coach people on the gym floor. Be like, you're doing that wrong. Can I show you something? That is a very, very hard way to feel your business. And a lot of personal trainers crumble and fall right at that point because it's very intimidating. People that are at the gym don't want to be bothered. They don't think that they're doing it wrong. They've been doing the same exercises for decades. Now they have, some young trainer coming up to them trying to like pick them apart. It's very, very hard. Doesn't like really break down the walls for somebody to open up. So it's not the easiest thing to do to build your business like that. But what was the question? I'm sorry, I got myself off track.
No, so when they come to you, you said they have
Oh yeah, right.
some sort of an awareness that I need a change in my life. It could
Right.
be I'm overweight and out of shape, or on the other side, people that are not, that are actually their ideal weight and they're fairly active, but they want to go to the next step, right?
Right.
So
So
they
that's
need
yeah,
somebody
so
to,
that's a good question. So to bring it back to that. So yeah, so behavior change is definitely important. You have to be ready to do it, right? And now this is where it's important. So when I get that person that's ready to make the change, I have no idea who they are, how much money they have, how much time they have, or anything. So now it's really, really up to me to show that person my value, and that interaction's everything. So I got really good at that interaction. And it's kind of along the lines of what you were saying when you were like, I'm a business coach, right? How do we ask those important questions? How do we get the person to open up and see what a problem it actually may be? Something told them that they needed to get there. Something drove them there. And now let's really open up on that. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's see what they're really there for, right? And just starting that conversation, what brings you here today, would get them off on a 20-minute tangent. When I had other trainers that couldn't keep that person in the room for 10 minutes, I asked one question and I had that person unraveling and opening up. And the more I could get them to talk, the more I knew I was going to have the sale. They need to tell me what the problem is. They know what the problem is. They need someone to pull it out of them. Where I saw everybody else trying to sell themselves, right? Yeah, I'm selling
yeah.
myself for sure. But it was more because I was asking the right questions and getting them to open up about what they really needed. And then me showing them that I had a value in helping them fix those issues. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
and
I think that I eat great. And then you realize that they don't. I think I do enough moving. And then once you get them talking, they admit that they don't. So I can't sit there and say, you need to do this. You need to change. You do. That does not work. That is not coaching, right? And asking those open-ended questions that get into people's minds, open them up, get them talking, get them to realize what they can actually, what they're doing, what they're not doing. They know, right? You know your body the best. You know your life the best.
yeah, and I love everything you said, except you used the term that will probably make people like shudder when they say, "Wow, she's energetic, she's dynamic, she knows what she's doing." And then she's selling herself to people. So I would take the word sales out of the conversation. What you're doing is not the sale piece comes at the end. To me,
Sure.
sales is always the sale to me has always been not the negative piece. It's just the final stage of a transaction where we shake hands and we say, okay, we're going to work together. How much do you charge? Fine. How do you get paid? Goodbye. That's the last piece. The piece that you were talking about was not really selling, but you have to connect with a client and they have to connect with you if you're going to be able to impact their lives, right? There needs
Yeah.
to be a connection. If there is no connection, then it's like then those are the people that would ask you, and that's how don't even talk to them, where the first questions are, how much do you charge and how long before I can look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? So I said,
Right.
that's really what you're worried about is how much money, and then you want to look like that guy. It's like that's like an idiotic approach, right?
100%.
So, so what the questions you because it was brilliant. You said, "What brings you today?" My first question to a business owner when we do our discovery, we get to know each other before we even decide to work with that is, what does this business mean to you? Because it's a very, very personal and emotional question for them. And the answer defines for me whether it's going to be a 5 minute meeting or we're going to spend an hour together. And those
Right.
that say, well, I'm doing pretty well, I'm making money, but who doesn't want to make more money? I said, okay, good for you. And the others are the ones that are in business with a purpose, right? It's my kids' education, it's my retirement. I want to do good for the community, something that shows some beyond just making money. So I'm going on a rant, but because the way you connect with potential clients is a human connection because you're not going to be able to impact and affect them unless there's a connection with you, right? Otherwise, they can go on YouTube and they can buy fitness for dummies.
A
They
hundred
don't need you,
percent right. Exactly. You
right?
said it the best, right? So it's like I would see these other trainers because I've done consulting for tons of them because they're like, how is your closing rate so high? I would close 4 out of 5 clients that I was given, right? And that was like almost a near perfect score.
Mhm.
It had nothing to do with the sell. It had nothing to do with that. I never once went in there and was like, I need to get this person's money. I need to sell 24 sessions with them. No, I was genuinely concerned about their well being, what was wrong, what was right, what was good, what was bad, and asking all the right questions, getting as much information, just getting as much information as possible, and not even thinking about the sale, right? It's hard to do when you're hungry for money and you're working so hard and you need to make your rent, right? So you can look very thirsty, and that's not a good look, right? So to bring it back to being like truly authentic and having that real passion to help people, it really, really comes out. And it really shows. And trying that coach hat on and not your
Mhm.
sales hat is the best thing. It's exactly what you said. It's not about making the sale.
Yeah,
And
because and again,
it can't come off feeling like that.
and you use the word coach because if we're in a coaching business, I do business, you do fitness, whatever. You have to have a unique connection, a dynamic with your client that allows you to, when you need to have what we call an unpleasant conversation, right? Because when they fall off the rails, when they don't do what they're supposed to do, when they start to outsmart you and not really follow what they hired you to do, right?
Yeah.
So then you got to have a tough conversation with them, and you
Yeah.
have to and with the right client, they will accept it, right? They'd say, you
Yeah.
know what, that's what I need you for, because who else is going to have that conversation with them? No one.
You're
In
right.
my universe, the business owner, it's a lonely job. They run their companies. They go home, they try not to get their family involved. Inside the business, they can have a great team, but at the end of the day, when the lights are out, guess who's going home worrying about the business? The business owner.
Right.
They need somebody like a coach to be able to tell them what they're doing wrong and to shake them up sometimes.
Yeah.
So, so how long have you been doing the fitness piece that seems to be successful?
20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. So, do you worry, I mean, I don't worry about this anymore, but do you worry? I mean, somebody asked me once, who are your competitors? And I said, um, young guys and girls in shorts that that sit at home with their tidy whities and earphones and a laptop, and they pretend to be a coach because they had a good job in a company somewhere, right? I said, those are my competitors. They've never run a business. They've never had their neck on the line building companies like I have. Okay, so I worked for Google for 5 years. Okay, does that make you a genius? What do you know about running a business? Nothing. So, do you worry about, younger guys, girls coming up and at some point, can you get too old to be a fitness trainer?
No, so I love that question because that's what almost stopped me from going into the business, to be quite honest. I'm like, I'm going to age out. I'm going to age out. The competition is going to get too crazy. No one's going to want to work with me. No, I actually find that to be the opposite. As I age, as of right now, I mean, I'm only pushing 42 here. So I still have plenty of good years and still in good shape. Now, younger, I got that. And that, oh, she's fit. She's a young athlete. We want her. So that was great. Now it's knowledge. Being in the game for so long, people want that. The older I get, the more problems I've had, the more problems I've seen. So now I'm rolling, right? Because I have experience, knowledge. So now I'm fine. And getting there at different stages of the game. So like, I've always been able to roll with the punches in that sense. And now I don't have a website. It's referral only. I never worry about business. It comes in at all different angles. But, it's another thing I had to teach. Like, am I living my life the way I want to work my career? I'm, on the pickleball court 4 or 5 days a week, on the rock climbing wall 4 or 5 times a week, taking long hikes. Like, my community and my neighbors know me. They see me outside every day. You're the girl that's a runner. You're the girl that's so like the exposure, coaching the soccer teams and knowing all the parents, like hundreds of people on a soccer field on a given weekend. So never aging out. Definitely don't feel old. Plenty of older trainers around me that are highly respected in the game a long time. And sometimes older people want to work with older people, right? Sometimes an older man wants to say, why does this older trainer look like that and he's doing it? I have no excuse. You could say to your younger trainer, well, you're not 75 and your bones don't hurt. You can't say that if your trainer is 75, right? So like, I think that there's room for everybody in this field. There really is. If you're good at what you do and you're good coaching skills and you're a positive person, I really do think that anybody could do this at any age. And I have
What
no
was
plan on stopping.
what was the craziest thing you did from a fitness standpoint? Like you said, you rock climb, you mountain bike, you go on hikes. What was the craziest thing you did that challenged you physically? Like I know somebody who with me and we were in a networking group together. He was he a I don't know if he was the super triathlete, those crazy people, and he was going all around the world doing these competitions where you run a marathon, you finish, you jump on a bike, you do 200 miles, and when you're done, you take a deep breath and you swim 10 miles. I mean, nuts. Ironman, what is it called? Ironman. Have you done anything crazy like this?
Yeah, so I've never done an Ironman. It's major respect. A girlfriend of mine that did it, so major respect there. But yes, I've run full marathons. I ran New York City and I ran Honolulu. Those were intense, very intense, not fun. New York City was fun. Hawaii was not fun. It was very hot. The bottoms of my feet got second-degree burns all over them. It was 104 degrees on my 15th mile. The pavement was so hot. The bottoms of my sneakers were melting. I did a triathlon. I'm not a swimmer, So I didn't do an Ironman, but I did the triathlon. It was, short distance, and it was so scary because I don't swim. So I had to learn how to swim on the computer and type it into Google back in the day and learn how to do the breaststroke. It was just for freestyle. So, I mean, things like that were a little crazy. I did the Spartan races. We had to do all the kinds of crazy, climb under the barbed wire and up the ropes and over the walls. And I did it all. I've tried it all.
That's I mean, I'd rather play pickleball or tennis or racquetball 3 hours. The running and all this kind of work. Like somebody said to me, "You want to go for a run? Why run with Uber? It's boring." So, so, um, so the tricky thing about being a business owner, and it's one of the few quite actually is my but something that I was teaching is you have to ask yourself a question that when I was asked that years ago in the corporate world, I was dumbfounded because I had no idea what the answer was. And the question was, what's your disaster recovery plan? So when I ask my clients that, these are business owners. They run companies from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 million. They run a business. And I say, what's your disaster recovery plan? They look at me the way I looked at the person they asked me that question 25 years ago. So what do you mean? And I said, well, you have to consider, since it's your business, let's define what a disaster is. Okay, what is something that completely derail my business? That would be a disaster. So yes, my biggest customer leaves and they represent 60% of my revenue. That's not fun. My number one sales guy walks away, takes all the accounts, similar impact, right? Um, and then we get to the one thing that they don't like to think about or talk about, and that's, well, what happens if something happens to you? You're the business owner. You're the visionary. You're the woman, the man, the woman that runs the company. Yes, you can have a great team, but it's still your business. You still are the driving force behind it, right? What happens if, God forbid, you get, I don't know, a heart attack tomorrow and you can't come back to work? Wow, wow, really didn't think about that. Hope it doesn't happen. They say, well, that's not smart business because you have to ask the question, each one of those questions, right? If I get sick and I can't get to work, it's a tough question, but why do you want to ask it? Because then you want to put a plan into a process, right? You're going to create a plan that gets executed if that disaster happens, right?
Yeah.
So if you're sick, we sit down and we map it out. So what happens? Okay, well, my number two person will take over. This fine. If your number one client leaves, what do we do? Well, we strategically change the way the company is functioning and not rely on one or two customers to give
Yeah.
us 60% of revenues, right? We spread the risk so that we have smaller company, not one that gives us everything. Your number one salesman leaves. Okay, you can have a non-compete agreement, which is tough to enforce. You could do some other things, but whatever. So the biggest and scariest thing is if something happens to you as the business owner. And in your case, it's you, right? It's Rebecca Torres, fitness lady. And you never thought about that question until something happened. So please share.
Yeah. So if something like that happens, what would I do? I'm fortunate enough to have gone back to school to become the functional medicine health coach that I told you. So with that, I am lucky enough to be able to just fall back. I basically have a second career now where I can work in a doctor office. I can work next to a doctor. I can coach his patients, which I do on the side now. And I do it very part-time because my own business is very demanding and I have a lot of clientele already. So I only take on about 4 health coaching clients a month. But I would do that, and I have that to fall back on. I said, so if I ever did want to like slow down with the physical labors of being a personal trainer, I could work from home. I could get on these Zoom calls. I could just be there and just have that as a career. So I always have that. I think you're right. I think it's really important to have a plan when you're a personal trainer. You can get hurt, you can get injured, do you have insurance? Like All those things are
Hmm.
really, really important questions.
What do you actually do with functional medicine? What is
So
that?
functional medicine in and of itself is, and you said like, what is that even? So a functional medicine approach is not treating, it's a holistic integrative approach to healthcare where we don't look at the symptoms and treat the symptoms. We look at the whole package and figure out why you might be having those symptoms and what are the underlying causes. Kind of like peeling layers back on an onion and figuring out like, all right, you have this symptom, what's causing the symptom? Instead of going to the
Mm.
doctor, getting a pill to treat the symptom, we're like, you have a symptom for a reason. We want to know what those underlying causes are. So we take a more holistic, integrated approach to figuring that out with each client, which for me, again, stop me if I'm going off on a tangent here, but as a personal trainer, that's where I was hitting roadblocks. I was asking all the right questions. I was getting people to unfold and tell out all this information about their lives. Then I was like, I'm going to fix them with some push-ups and jumping jacks. Like, this isn't good. Yeah, people need to move. Yeah, that'll help a little, but people have major problems. People have cancer. People have autoimmune diseases. People have major, major stress. Like, how am I gonna have more of an effect, more of an impact on my clients? How can I help them out even more? And that's why I got into functional medicine. And there's obviously a backstory behind it a little bit more, but that was what was helping me. I set myself apart by being able to help people even more. And that's what I needed. That was a missing piece for me as a personal trainer, was to be able to coach people more so their health could be even more like, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, everybody was sick and I couldn't help them. And having this little piece in my back pocket that gave me just a leg up on everybody, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
For me
And
personally, yeah, you can't help everybody. And then this gave me just that extra tool to not that I could, but that I would be with a community of people that I'd be able to get my help for my client. More of a referral basis, more of a team of people that could help, so then my personal training program could be way more effective, right? You can't have people that are suffering from all these ailments and diseases and things that are wrong and throw more stress on the body with personal training when the thing that they need most is less stress.
yeah.
Maybe the personal
Yeah.
training comes in later, but we have to fix all these other issues first.
So I don't know, was it a year ago or whatever it was that you started to get stomach pains?
It's actually a year ago this week.
Wow. Okay. So you're the function medicine guru and the fitness person, and you experienced some stomach pains
Symptoms.
and symptoms that you dismiss initially or you don't.
So I definitely couldn't dismiss them. The stomach issues, and people ask all the time, it was every kind of stomach pain that you've ever experienced in your life. And it was every day. So like normally I have stomach ache, I can fix it, whether it's cleaning up my diet, fasting, going to the sauna, cleaning up, getting more water in, whatever it was or ever has been, I could nip it in the butt, no problem. Get rid of it. I haven't had a cold, a sickness. I'm never sick. So the most I would ever have would be like a belly issue from maybe eating too much at a barbecue one day, right? And that's kind of where this all started. I was at a party and I never eat bad food. And they had one of those donut walls. Do you know what those things are? Where
No
there's like
idea.
pegs on a wall with donuts on them. And
Oh,
I was leaving the party and they're like, you gotta take a donut. I'm trying to get rid of all these donuts. So I take the stupid donut, like, sure, I'm not gonna eat it. And on the car ride home, I had half of the donut and it was the best thing ever. Next morning, I wake up and the stomach issue started. So in my head, I'm like, get a food. I got this. I'll clear this out. 3 weeks later, my husband's like, it's not the donut. So I couldn't blame it on the donut making me feel sick anymore. I was still suffering and it wasn't going away. And I was doing all the right things. I was fasting and that would really, really alleviate my symptoms. But then I have to eventually eat again, right? So upon eating again, it would come back with a vengeance. And I didn't have any answers anymore. So then I started thinking maybe it was gynecological issues. And I made the appointment for the gynecologist. On my way to the gynecologist, they call me up. They say, we don't take your insurance anymore. You got to find your doctor. So while this is all going on, finding the new doctor, I met on the telemed doctor. I was like, I have insurance. Like, I don't know who to see though. Like, do I go with GI? Do I let it? So I'm trying all these things. So I met on the teledoc. He's like, maybe DHI. Let's give you some antibiotics for that. Went on that. Seemed to help. Second I stopped antibiotics, the day I stopped, the next day the symptoms started. So it was just like I was trying to figure this all out, and to no avail until I woke up that morning, was with a client, and I just face planted on the floor in agonizing pain. It hit me so hard, like someone like shot me in the stomach. The pain was so bad, and then at that point there was no turning back. I was vomiting profusely from pain, rolling around the floor, sweating. Then I got rushed right to the ER. And then within 72 hours, I was fully diagnosed with cancer. And I had a massive tumor growing inside of my stomach, and they didn't know where it was coming from. And they had initially said that they think it's terminal, and that I have a rare Krukenberg tumor growing in my stomach, and that they were going to have to perform all these tests to rule that out. But that's what it is. I have 7 to 10 months to live. No one has ever lived past a year with it. So I was sitting in the hospital with that information for 3 days until I got colonoscopy to rule out that this tumor that I had was not coming from my stomach. But now we're faced with the other problem. Where and what is it? So fast forward, I get out of the hospital, I get in with Sloan Kettering. The doctor had moved from Sloan Kettering to Langdon, so I was able to see her and get treated right here on Long Island. And I had to go into emergency surgery. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. My tumor markers and my cancer markers were that of someone with terminal cancer and cancer all over their body. I think it was like my CR19 score was like 780, and it's supposed to be in the single digits or something crazy. No, 7,000. It was something out of control. Like the doctors were like no one was really wanted to tell me how bad it was, right? And my surgeon that I finally picked was the only one that was like, let's treat you like an athlete. Yeah, the numbers are really bad, but you don't look sick. So let's like hope that your body's reacting the way that you treat it. And then we'll cycle back around to the functional medicine thing. So to go in for my surgery, I had to sign off on 10 surgeries and a possible 10-hour surgery to remove as much cancer from my body that they would find. And they're going to do this. If it's here, they're going to take this out. If it's spread here, they'll take this out. And it's kind of a daunting experience to have to sit through that meeting. I go in for the surgery. The surgeon comes out, goes to my family, and she said, I've never seen anything like it. But her tumor is completely encapsulated her cancer. It didn't spread to another cell on her body. We've never seen this before. She's not only cancer-free now that we got this tumor out, she won't need any chemo or radiation at all. We don't think. We're going to wait for the labs to come back, but we don't think. And we're in as much shock as you guys are right now. So, lo and behold, the lab comes back from this massive tumor that was growing inside of my stomach. And it was stage 1B ovarian cancer. And my body did exactly what it was supposed to do. And it confined that cancer into this bubble, and it kept growing the bubble so that cancer couldn't leave, and it couldn't grow, and it couldn't spread, because that's what cancer does. It invites all the other cells along, and then it convinces those good cells to conform to cancer. And my body was like, oh, no, we're not doing that. And so my cancer markers were so high because it was forming this huge mass, right? So, I mean, every single thing that I did every day leading up to that helped my body do just that. I'm very, very lucky, but I'm also very fortunate that I do what I do for a living and practice what I preach, and it saved my life.
So I don't think that that's ever been any more convincing argument why somebody should be fit and healthy than your story, right? Because I was gonna say, you said I was lucky, but it doesn't sound like you were lucky. It sounds like you treated your body with respect. You did all the right things to allow your body to, in the case of a disaster, form that cocoon around the cancer and protect you. which saved you. God, I mean, chemo and radiation, I mean, those things are brutal, right? So,
It's hard to even talk about it after the fact because it's like I'm with so many of my clients that do suffer and have to go through these crazy treatments, and I'm so fortunate, and there's that I
mhm.
can't, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be okay leading this podcast, and that's saying that it's also like very spiritual and religious, and wherever you want to say. And I honestly don't think without all of the prayers that I had from friends and family, that it was the most amazing thing, and the power of positive thought and manifestation and the belief of a higher power. I think it's just really important to talk about because it is when you are set and you are faced with that mortality, we all die, right? We're all gonna get there one day. Doesn't matter how or when, we're gonna get there. So how we whatever relationship we have with that afterlife, it's important. It's your whole mindset, your whole mental flow, and really having to connect into that a little bit more when I was sick. I'm just really happy I did, and I really felt the love and the power, and I think that was a huge part of my progress and my healing as well. I really do.
so you go into a 10-hour surgery or whatever, and I had the unpleasant experience of getting surprised with a bypass 3 years ago, completely out of the blue, because I'm very fit and had no symptoms. It's one of these widowmaker cases where just felt weird, and my LAD turned out to be 98% blocked. So I would have been I would have been dead continuing my very, very active lifestyle if it wasn't for that weirdness and then the high blood pressure, and then 3 days later, boom, surgery. But um I remember, and the worst thing about being sick or being ill, being in a hospital, which is the worst place to go, right? Hospitals are horrible.
Well,
Um,
oh,
is it said that especially before surgery, you're lying in your on your bed, hooked up to whatever, and it's just alone, right? The world continues, but you're in that room by yourself, thinking about what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? I'm gonna wake up. It's a be okay. Man, there's a kid at is we're just alone with all the surrounding you. It's really, I think the loneliness piece is the most frightening part because your support system is not there. And the nurses that come in and out are amazing, but they're doing a job, right? They're not gonna sit there and hold your hand and tell me how do you feel right now. This is time for it, right? So it's freakily scary when you're alone in that confines of a hospital, and especially if you're on a surgery with unknown, right? You just don't know it. So you come out. It's a fairly bitter. I mean, I think it's but your surgery, right? Then what happens? Rebecca decides, okay, I'm gonna get on my feet as soon as I can and go off, right?
just repeat that last part. You broke up. I'm sorry.
I think that you surgery full. What were you thinking after surgery? Okay, done. Time back to
You said, so you're breaking up. You said, how did I feel after the surgery, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So so a couple of points there. And I gotta say, it shocked me when I got the news at first that I might have terminal cancer. Truth be told, Zev, I looked at my husband, and although like I'm so happily married and he's the love of my life, I said to him, like, I've done it all. I'm so happy. Right back to the beginning part of the podcast. Like, I chose a job that I loved. I met people that I loved. I met my husband at my job because I chose something that I love to do. Like, I looked at it and I go, I don't have anything else I want to do. I love every day of my life. I travel the world. We've done so much. I can't even, I don't know. I don't know what else I could think of. So I think that I couldn't wait to get back to work because I love my job, right? I couldn't wait to have a new vibrant focus because I have more belief in what I do than ever, you know? I put myself through it. I believe in it. I believed in it, and I will really believe in it. I'm like I'm walking the walk, right? So yeah, it's really back to what we said in the very beginning. It's like choosing happiness all the time, fighting for it, fighting for what makes you happy, fighting for the things that are right. And my career path showed that, and it got me through my illness, and I'm so grateful for it. And I wouldn't change anything. And I'm doing exactly what I was doing before I got sick, even with more heart and more passion and no regrets. And I'm going to do it till the day I die.
So,
Hopefully not tomorrow.
who's one person that influenced you the most in your personal life?
So easy for me. Is my dad. And I had fortunately lost my dad a few years ago. I hate that I lost him because I would say so much more to him being older, and unfortunately it's always the case, right? It's like you learn this appreciation for your parents when you're older, but he flawlessly and just gave me everything to support my passion for fitness. Like I saw that I was an active kid, saw that's how I liked to be and move, and just like fully embodied that with me, did everything. Any sport that I showed interest, he supported it and got me in it. Drove me to every practice, drove me to every game. On the sidelines to be my biggest cheerleader. Took reffing school with me just to be by my side when I wanted to be a young ref, 15-year-old referee coaching the games. Took it with me so he could be on the field next to me reffing, like, so I wouldn't be scared. I mean, behind the curtains on the dancing, on the dance stage, they're supporting me, volunteering in the back. So it was just always there. Like, I, I mean, it's the best. And now every day I think of him. Every day that I'm doing these activities that are so special to me, that bring the biggest light to my heart, he introduced me to. He is
Mhm.
like so special. He had the free heart. He had that amicable, fun, loving spirit that just go with the flow, be happy, live outside, learn how to survive. He was a Boy Scout leader. He took me on every little thing with the Boy Scouts, never made me feel left out because I was a girl. He's my number one, always will be.
Same question about business. Is there one person that influenced you the most from a business perspective?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring it back to full circle again to the beginning conversation that we had. It was my boss Andrew Brokis from my first real estate job in Manhattan. I mean, he was just such a young he's an entrepreneur, super successful now. He grew that company. I was his third employee working for him, and now he's uber successful with a really big company. He should be on your next podcast. And
Tell him.
he gave the best advice. He had his dad, who is a super successful salesman that worked 50 years in the textile industry or something, and brought him in to teach us about his sales experience. So we got to learn how to sell, how to sell real estate, but he did it so honest. He was like, he worked side by side with someone that he didn't appreciate. He's like, I learned how to not do the business. And he was a
Mhm.
liar. He would tell his clients just what they wanted to hear and then screw them over in the end. So we were taught just this like really authentic, really honest way of selling. So I didn't feel dirty about it. I didn't feel, I was very upfront with the hard talks I had to have with people right away. So when it did come down to it in the end, they weren't unhappy about it. They were prepared. All these little tools. I think he was just unbelievable. And still talk to him to this day, still stay in touch with them. I do every time I'm with a client and I'm selling, I have him in the back of my head. All of those good things that he taught me, just like keeping it simple, keeping it honest, preparing
Mhm.
people, asking the right questions, all of them, all from him.
So, if I give you a billboard in Times Square and you have a chance to write anything you want on it, where millions of people are going to see it every day, what would Rebecca Torres put on there?
Make someone smile today.
That's it.
That's
That's a
it.
beautiful.
Because if
It's a
one
yeah.
person, if there's millions of people going by it, and one person says, you know what, why not? You just start a trickle of a positive effect through everybody. And if we could all just do that one simple thing, just make one person smile a day, what a better place this world would be.
Hmm. So you just reminded me, and I blanked out because I used to teach this subject, but it's called what is it called? It's called the butterfly effect, I think, where it's a theory that the wings of a butterfly in one part of the world can actually start a chain reaction. It could actually create a storm somewhere else, right? So this is kind of like what you were just saying. Make one person smile, they smile. I mean, this is what happens with strangers, right? You walk by, people usually either stick their face in the cell phone or whatever. But if you look at somebody and you smile, they smile back.
Right?
That happens. It's
It
like
could literally just be
it's right.
looking at someone and making eye contact with someone that can make them smile. You
Yeah.
know, we don't even look at each other in the eyes anymore. It's so sad.
Well, so Becky, I know you're gonna make people smile because you have an amazing story and you're inspiration. You're a one-woman show that it's a powerhouse in all around in terms of who you are, your ability to succeed, and everything else that goes around it. So, there's a lucky man. We are lucky to know you. And I remember, because you said we both play pickleball, and obviously we know each other. I remember playing in Smithtown that has 9 indoor pickleball courts. I was on court number 8, which was all the way at the end by the wall playing in the seasonal with Lisa Gross and Danielle and Sue Kay. And I think I was walking out because we had somebody extra. And I started to walk and I heard this roaring laugh
You're gonna say that.
from I just said, where is that coming from? I don't even know why. Now, this is a true story. And I started to walk towards the roaring laugh. And you were playing with Stutman, which is somebody that we know, and he was out too. And I looked at him and I said, who is this person? That's an amazing laugh. And it's like, and I stayed there and I watched you play. Um, and it was contagious. It was great. So that was my introduction to the Becky roaring laugh, and
I love it.
it was 7 courts away. So, all right, okay, I will include your contact person that you share with me if anybody wants to ask you questions. If Oprah wants to call you and get your story on her stuff, I don't even know if she does these things anymore, but doesn't matter. It's fine. Um, and again, thank you for doing this. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. You worked hard. I'm gonna let you go, and we'll be in touch
I
next time on the
appreciate
pickleball
you. I
courts.
appreciate your time. And it's really
Oh,
special
this
to have
is
this with you.
this is fun for me. I love these. I love talking to people that are unique, that are inspirational, and have an amazing story. So thanks again.
Keep
Go take
being
care of that
amazing,
cat.
Zev. We all need more people like you in this world. You're the
Oh,
best.
me, no, I'm nothing. I'm okay. I just help people tell their story, and if it makes them smile, sometimes it makes them cry, but that's okay. Those are happy tears. All right, Becky, have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See
You
you.
as well.